welcome to the Talkin Kop. We're here for a little post-match reaction, and I'm sure everybody is just champing at the bit to get into this one. So I'm your host, Matt. I'm joined by Kev, joined by Chris, and joined by Ashley, and we are here to pick through the details of Plymouth Argyle 1, Liverpool 0. Ashley, the dream is over. The quad dream is dead, and it's almost like nobody's done it before because it's nigh on impossible to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the quad dream being dead is kind of like the last thing on my mind today. Like, that was just a shit performance. Like, forget the quad speak. That was just garbage. It was garbage all throughout the team. Like, and I get it. It's a highly rotated squad, but I mean, not one of those players really stood up to that challenge at all.
Yeah, no, it's Stephen Kemp saying entitled FC turned up today, and we thoroughly deserved what we got. Absolutely nothing. I mean, Chris, we can have no complaints as Liverpool fans about the result, but there's some shocking individual performances and a shocking team performance that we just witnessed.
Yeah, listen, look, we'll get into it because I know me and Kev slightly disagree on this, but the manager took a risk, played a weakened side, but he laid the challenge down before the start of the game. I know these players are good enough on the ball. Are they good enough off the ball? To run, to go for second balls, to basically work their arse off the ball. And they weren't. And I think Ashley said in chat to us beforehand, maybe there's a reason why some of these players don't get as much game time. Sometimes we're going, I wonder why he doesn't get as much game time. Today stunk to me of attitude was all wrong. And I think we got what we deserved. I mean, literally, we barely worked the keeper until the last, 10 minutes? First 18 minutes? Honestly, he could have had his slippers on. So, got what we deserved. Can't prove much else about it. Move on to Wednesday, but I guarantee you, we pretty much know the side for Wednesday because I guarantee
these guys.
Most of those fuckers will be looking to make the bench. So, yeah, listen, that was a lot of senior players who just let the side down. It says it all when I actually thought quite a few of the kids did okay. I think they were actually hung out to dry a little bit by some senior performances.
Yeah, when you get a heavily rotated lineup like that with a few experienced players in there, you kind of expect them to carry the youngsters along with them. Davey T, a Newcastle fan, saying the magic of the cup still there for all except Premier League. Birmingham kicked this pillar to post yesterday, so you can understand managers protecting the big players. And Ashley with the stat, Premier League teams to lose in the FA Cup against sides from outside the top flight. 2002, Leeds lost to Cardiff. 2015, Chelsea lost to Bradford. 2018, Man City lost to Wigan. And 2025, Liverpool versus Plymouth. Kev, you had to know I was coming to you to talk about the magic of the cup. There it is. Come on.
If you're a Plymouth fan, you're absolutely delighted because if you can put that comment back up a sec.
Didn't United lose to Leeds when they were in the Championship as well?
See the last bit? That's all that the record book is going to show. Liverpool v Plymouth. It's not going to show Liverpool with a handful of players and a few kids. It's going to say Liverpool 0, Plymouth 1, FA Cup 2025. And the magic of the cup is alive and well for Plymouth.
There's a section that's missing there just for everyone. It's
table
there's
topping.
more.
There's more.
Premier
sorry,
League.
table topping. Yeah, that makes sense.
Table topping Premier League. Yeah.
So just to clarify for anyone, there are other teams that have lost, but for people that have been leaders of the Premier League.
Right, makes sense. That makes sense.
So context.
But yeah, it's for Plymouth. They're absolutely delighted with life. Do you know what really sickens me the most on that? I saw the betting on the game before it started. After I saw the lineups, and I was sorely tempted to have a punt on Plymouth, and I didn't. You notice when you guys were chatting in the group about predicted scores and what have you, I never put a thing in because I looked at that lineup, and more importantly, I looked at the bench, and I thought they don't give a fuck here. The manager doesn't give a fuck. The players that are going to be put on the pitch won't give a shit. Plymouth will. They have a brand new manager. There's some new signings. And I watched the highlights of their last game where they were playing against West Brom, who were playing all right this season. And they come from 1 down to win it 2-1. And apart from the Burnley game, which was before a lot of the transfers that were made, I think they've got two high-scoring draws, They have a draw and a win in their last 2 games. So this ain't going to be easy, especially going away. And that pitch today suited the way they wanted to play. It doesn't suit the way we want to play. And we couldn't adapt to the conditions. We couldn't adapt to anything. So to me, it looked like they were either weren't prepared or they were prepared and didn't want to take it in. The senior players hung the young players out to dry in a big way because someone needed to put their foot in. We can't do what we normally do and expect the same results because look, the ball's bouncing all over the place. You're playing passes through and they're just running out of play. You go along and the balls are just fucking bouncing around all over the place. We couldn't adapt to it, and that's on us, not on Plymouth. Fair play to them. They got the win. They were the better side. Bar the last 15 minutes, they were the better side throughout. I mean, in the second half, it was 72 minutes into the game before we created a half chance. You know, that was shocking. Like everything about that, from the manager to the players, all the way down. I think there's 2 players that can come off the pitch with their head up and said, "Yeah, I didn't play badly." And I'm not talking about the young kids. But Endo played okay, and I think Kelleher played okay. Other than that, the rest of them, to a man, were varying degrees of shit. And the graduations of levels of shitness is tiered because there is definitely 1 or 2 on the top tier of the shit list. But there are steps to it. And it took a real effort to get onto the top shit list. But we'll get into who I think was right on top shit list later.
I'm just impressed that you found somebody that was putting an effort out there. So.
I thought Enda played well.
Yeah,
he's defended well. He's passing up from the back was fine. He was calm and he was assured on the ball. He didn't give the ball away much, if at all. And the big striker that they did have, I thought Endo handled him okay. You know, I thought Kelleher made a really good save early on in the second half with his feet. But other than that, he really wasn't asked to do much of anything else. But that's why I said he did fine.
Keller was more of a threat in the opposition box.
Exactly. And like with the penalty, what are you doing?
There. Keller had as many shots on target as Diaz, Jota, and Chiesa combined.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to look at it. Kelleher and Endo are the 2 players that I can say, yeah, they did fine. But the rest of them, fucking hell. Again, got exactly what it deserved. The thing that pissed me off about Slot today was if you're gonna send that level of starting 11 out, you have to have a bit of protection on the bench. You have to have an insurance policy just in case. A break glass, few subs, that it wouldn't have done him any harm to go and travel with the rest of the squad. If you use them, fine. If you don't use them, so what? But it would have done a few of the senior players who were having a day off, a rest day, no harm to be on the bench today. I'll never understand that. Never. I can understand you wanting to rest players, and like Jones never got on the pitch. I understand, you know, what needing the way the game evolved out, the changes that he made. But to not have an insurance policy of just in case. And I don't care what games you got coming up, it would have cost nothing to have 2 or 3 more senior players on the bench. Say, if my starting 11 with those kids, as well as the senior players who haven't played very much of anything, can't get the job done for whatever reason, if we go down to 10 men or whatever, that they had something on the bench that could come and dig them out. But there wasn't. There was nothing there. Darwin was there, you know, and as useful as a chocolate teapot when he came on. You know, and that's what puts me on.
He was a bit anonymous there for large parts after he came on. We got a super chat here for 5. I had to look up what this is. These are Singapore dollars from HFMCE-HFRSSEIA. Says, unfortunately, the drop-off was too big. I believe Klopp would have motivated the same group better than Slot and got a result. And then another one right back saying, well said, Kev. Slot cocked up big time. Better beat Everton now. I mean, I think, Ashley, we can all agree that the priority for Arne Slot and the entire management team is definitely the league game against Everton coming up, because like Kev saying, you want to have more to come off of the bench, and the bench didn't have that strength there. And 9-10 of the players that are going to start presumably against Everton didn't even make the trip today.
Yeah, I mean, it's the priority is 100% elsewhere, and I get that. And you could see that from the lineup, where if this was in any way a priority, there would have been, as Kev said, senior players to come on and make sure that there was an insurance policy, but there wasn't. I will say though that the team that was put out is good enough to have beat Plymouth had they shown up, had they decided to run, had they even decided to, play a game of football, because there were a few of them that, what?
Pass it 5 yards would have been a good start.
Yeah. I mean, like there were enough senior players there to have made something happen had they given a shit, basically. And they just didn't. Like, the whole, I hate the entitled FC thing, but this was entitled FC. Like there were so many players that were just trying stupid little flicks and trying to be show-offs, and like no one wanted to do the graft today. And so I don't know, just as a whole, like I'm not upset with losing. Like there's a couple comments in the chat saying, a team that's never played together has lost. Yeah, that's fine. Like I don't mind them losing.
It's the manner, isn't it?
Performance. Yeah, I mind the manner of the performance and the fact that, you have the kids that are pulling their weight, and then you have the senior pros deciding that they're going to show up in their flip-flops. Like that bothers me.
Yeah, that's my big takeaway from the game too, is because I thought when the lineups dropped of like, okay, that's a lot of changes, but when you look at a front three that has Chiesa, Jota, and Diaz in it, Harvey Elliott getting the chance to, make an impression on a game against a lower level opposition club, and it's just not there. The one thing, Chris, that was like, well, this is really good news when the lineup drops, and then within an hour and 6 minutes becomes bad news again, is the return of Joe Gomez, who comes back from injury, gets a start, not quite sure where he's going to play. As it turns out, he ends up playing at center half, and within 8 minutes, he's down injured again.
Yeah, I didn't see what he did, but you could tell he looked absolutely heartbroken. No, I don't know if that's heartbroken because it's a bad injury, or it's that mental anguish of not again. The hope is it's a niggle or it's a tweak and it's not something too serious. But I just felt for him, because like he'd actually played well up until he got his hamstring injury at West Ham. And he thought, great, he'll get back, get some minutes, and if he just had he has no luck whatsoever, and I feel sorry. You feel sorry for him in that sense. He's probably one of the few I do feel sorry for, because you get injured, not much you can do about it. But yeah, that kind of just summed up the day, really, pretty much.
Yeah, says Marky Mark saying I'd rather forfeit the game than have Gomez get any kind of injury, but that's just the way that it is. Kev, other than Gomez being injured, the only thing of note I have from the first half, we had a shot on goal. 36 minutes in, McConnell gets onto a loose ball. It's deflected, saved, spilled, and collected by the keeper. But other than that, was there a pitch side advertisement for a Domino's Pizza cologne at Plymouth? It's one of my things about playing against lower side teams, is I love the local advertising. It was like ode to Domino's or something like that. It's like, fuck me, I like pizza, but I am not putting on Domino's flavored cologne. But
what network were you watching it on?
I was on Sportsnet, but this was definitely local. Like this wasn't a green screen ad for the Canadian audience whatsoever. It's very local.
That would have been my idea, that if it was via a German broadcaster or something that was covering it, maybe for the Canadian network. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't notice it. Above all the things that I could have been watching in the first half, I wasn't looking at the advertising hoardings.
You were watching the match? Holy shit. It was.
Well, I was watching some of the performances, especially Chiesa.
The one that stood out for me too.
Yeah. Chiesa, Diaz, Elliott, Jota. Those four. I was just looking to see, could they interlink with each other? And you just didn't see it. It was running down blind alleys. And if they weren't looking down blind alleys, they were trying to come back and recycle the ball, which, I get the frustration that they'd have of not being able to, have a sync with each other. but they do train together a fair bit. So you'd think they'd know who runs where and how they like the ball to be delivered to them. But I felt for Joe Gomez big time. The way he went down was more worrying than anything, because a few minutes before, I think he went up in the air, tried to clear a ball. It was a weird kind of a bounce in the box that I thought Kelleher was going to come and get. And for some odd reason, Joe Gomez went and played it. And I think that's where he did it. But I don't know if there's been anything said in the post-match since. But the writing was on the wall in the first half. The writing was on the wall in the first half with the way that we were performing and the way that we couldn't pass the ball to each other. Normally, when you watch us, and it doesn't, even when we were playing in Eindhoven, when we were playing, having good moments in that first half, we were able to keep a side pressed in. And I think we managed it once or twice in the first half. But once they got out really easily. They had no intention of playing out from the back whatsoever. Everything was like long deal with. They launched it to their forwards, which one of them is a unit. Bundu's his name. And if he can't win a header, they'll force our centre backs, which at the time turned out to be Kwanzaa and Endo, to win the second ball. And they smothered it. They just worked harder. They worked harder off the ball to win second balls, and they made more of it. Plus the fact that they're generally used to playing with each other. That helps a lot as well. Even if they're playing this season, they're really struggling. They know the pitch, they know the conditions, they know each other. It's an advantage. And we just looked like we couldn't string 5 passes in a row.
5?
Well,
Did we get
3.
5? Did we ever get like 2?
Nice. Well, no, we were able to work it from one side to the other and then back again. But when we tried to move it further than that, it was like getting overcomplicated. And yeah, no, it was just bad. Everything about it. And look, it wasn't the case that we were bad on our own. They forced us into a lot of mistakes just by being smart in where they pressed and how they pressed. They stayed in a really good shape, a really tight shape, knowing that anything that went into the box, Jota's not winning in the air. They had 3 big centre backs that were cleaning everything up if anything went high. And then you're forced into looking for little slip passes through to find runners. And I can't think of a single moment in that first half where a midfielder made a run beyond Jota of any description. I cannot remember one. So if you're not willing to make runs in behind the striker, and you don't have a striker who's going to win the ball in the air, how the fuck do you think you're going to score a goal?
Yeah.
What's the plan there? Where's the idea going to come from that you think you can score a goal if you don't run and you can't win balls in the air? It's nonsense.
Yeah, I completely agree. We looked absolutely toothless until about the last 10 minutes when we started kind of throwing the kitchen sink, or as close as we could have gotten today, throwing the kitchen sink at everything. And we're going to have to talk about the goal. Before that, I mean, if you're in here watching, thank you for commiserating with us all. It's not the funnest shows to do afterwards, but hit the like button. If you're not a member, please consider becoming a member. $3.99 a month. Get involved in all the member shows. Get to watch the 30 and get involved in all that. Call into some of the members' call-in shows that we do every so often. Get involved in the members' Telegram chat, which is always good fun. Ashley, Harvey Elliott gives away a absolute stonewall penalty because for some reason he decides to put his hands above his head when a Plymouth player is going to try an overhead kick after what was a very poor defensive header from Trainioni that put the ball right back into the danger area. What we deserve.
It was a pen. It was always a pen. I mean, it was one of those ones where you're jumping, so you're trying to use your arms to kind of gain a little bit of momentum, and just bad luck happens when the ball hits your hand. It's a penalty though. His hands above his head. It sucks for him, but they deserved it. They put so many more shots on target than we did, and there wasn't a ton that they. I don't know. There wasn't a ton, but I do think they deserved the penalty, and it was
1-0 Villa after a minute.
Well, that's Spurs, so maybe that can be our comic relief for later.
It is what it is, mate. It is what it is.
it's entertaining, right? That's what we want. But yeah, anyways, going back to that, Ryan Hardy steps up. He's a 6-year veteran for them. You know, good for him for keeping composure. It's a big team. It's a big game for them. And, you know, he put it away. Kelleher did not guess the right way. And, you know, it is what it is. It's a penalty. It was a, you know, a shit moment for Elliott, but it was also just a shit game for Elliott.
Yes, it was. Chris, do you have anything else to talk about with the game? Because we are on a pretty tight roast chicken dinner out clock here. So anything else you want to talk about?
I agree with some of in the chat where it's like, why bring Jones if you're not going to put him on?
Apparently he wasn't fully fit.
Then don't put him on the bench. Do you know what I mean? If he's not fully fit, don't put him on the bench. Put somebody else on the bench as an option. That's a bit of a. That's where the manager does deserve a little bit of stick of like, don't put players on the bench if don't put senior players on the bench if you have no intention of using them. Which if he's carrying an injury, you've no intention of using them. So why put him on the bench? You could have put McAllister on the bench, who only played half an hour, 20 minutes against Spurs. So him doing a 20-minute run at the end of that game, ticking him over, wouldn't have been the end of the worst thing in the world. But other than that, no. And yeah, I mean, listen, I thought Naomi did okay. I thought McConnell did okay. I mean, he was asked to play here, there, and everywhere. But other than that, that's about it, really. I think our goalkeeper's header was better than anything any of our attack did, including Darwin, who came on, was very Darwin today.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, how do you feel about the save their keeper makes in the 98th minute? Darwin's got to score that. I mean, the ball gets headed back across the box. He's got a free header, and you know he gets it. I think it was maybe going in, and their keeper tips it over the bar. But I mean, anywhere to the side, and he scores.
There was a few of them at the end. There was that one that Darwin should score. Definitely. McConnell has an effort that he shanks. And Jota turned and hit one where a keeper makes a good save. It was a full stretch save. But in fairness, he got two hands to it. So you expect him to make the save. But still, it was an instinctive strike by Jota. So he had to be aware. You know, it was still a good save. But yeah, Darwin had an absolute fucking mare, and this has always been the problem with him. Yes, works his socks off in most games. Whenever he plays, you know you're going to get maximum effort, but there was always going to come a game where you need him to take that one chance. You know, you even saw it in the game right up to it went where they went full pack the bus. There was nothing really created for Jota either. So any half chance that Jota was going to get today, he'd have almost had to make for himself. And it's a problem when you don't have Salah on one wing and Cody Gakpo on the other wing, and Virgil finding them both with passes, and a midfield three that suffocates a side in. When you don't have all the tools at your disposal, and you still expect your wingers to be the ones making your chances, you're letting yourself in for a big problem. But when they do come, and Darwin's chance was a glaring one, you know, that one, any corner, any side, he puts any kind of an angle on that header and it's in. But it went straight, and it gave the keeper a chance to get that. And look, at that stage of the game, his blood would have been up through the roof, so he was always going to get something on it. And it just showed. It really just showed that last 10 minutes showed what was on a plate for us if we went for it. And it took us until then to be able to put ourselves in a position to actually go for it. That's not acceptable in any language.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just not. Okay, I'm going to zing through some of these quotes that Ashley's got in here for us because, again, we're on a hard out today. It is Superb Owl Sunday as well, too. Lovely stat, Ashley. Since the start of November, Plymouth has beaten as many Premier League clubs in all competitions, Brentford and Liverpool, as they have fellow championship sides, Portsmouth and West Brom. So that's fucking embarrassing. But a good day for Miran Muzlic, their manager. He says, I will realize this when I leave Argyle Stadium, go to my apartment and take a moment to breathe. A big moment for us, a big moment in our history. We spoke about the joy to defend. It's Liverpool. They will be on you. And then Arnie coming out doing his best PR work says, I don't think I can say the boys didn't fight today. That's a fucking lie. He says, it hurts everyone. Liverpool fans, players, me, we all wanted to be in the competition as long as possible. I think that's also a lie. Great game for Plymouth. Good game plan. They deserve all the plaudits for their performance today. We were not having a good game. A result like this was the outcome. Well, that's truthful. It was a fight for 100 minutes or something like that. Both teams hardly created any chance, and then the game was decided by a penalty. It was correctly awarded. Harvey Elliott, had his arms above his head. In a game like this where two teams hardly have any chance, hardly are able to find any opening, it's up to one moment. And that moment was for them. Like I said, they deserved it because they played a really good game. Arne also says he has no regrets over the team he picked today. Today showed we played, why we played with those we did. These players need rhythm. They need games like this to be ready. The result is obvious, a big disappointment. Way we played, not a lot to be happy about. The boys kept fighting for 100 minutes. Muslich again says, I'm going to go home, rewatch the game, eat some nachos, and drink a Fanta. So, wow. It's, there you go. I mean, those are life goals. An update from Lewis Steele on Joe Gomez is not a hamstring tear, and Curtis Jones was also slightly unfit, hence why he did not warm up or come on today. And then, Chris, you've provided us with a lovely silver lining, so I'm going to read this out, and then you can give me your non-Endo or Kelleher man of the match. How about that? But Liverpool will now have no game the weekend, the 1st, 2nd of March, which falls after a run of 5 Premier League games in 15 days and a few days before their Champions League last 16 first leg game. That is a silver lining if there ever was one, Chris.
Well, it is and it isn't, because when you got 5 games in 15 days, you are going to have to use quite a bit of the squad. And you've got to be honest, some of those lads today haven't put the hand up when you've gone, oh, I don't mind if he goes in. I don't mind if he goes in. I mean, the general debate now for the weekend will be there's only one position up for grabs, and that's number 9. And Nunez, Jota, and Diaz didn't shine tonight. So whichever one you pick is going to feel a little bit of a risk now. You know, that's just how you feel after a defeat. So in terms of who were not player, no Endo, no Kelleher.
Yeah.
Naoni was all right. I think for a young 17-year-old, I thought he did okay. You know, bit of a stinker of a tackle he put in the first half, which he rightly got booked for. But other than that, I thought he did okay. Maybe McConnell. Outside of that, no.
Who was the worst for you?
I'm trying to say, is it Chiesa or Diaz? Part of me thinks Chiesa because I think he only beat a man once, and every time he lost the ball, he didn't run back. But I remember Chiesa in the game. I don't actually remember Diaz in the game much, if at all. So it's hard to flip between them two. I think it'll depend on my mood at the time. So either of them two.
Yeah. Kev, how about you? Who was the best besides Endo and Kelleher, and who was the worst?
McConnell was the best player on the pitch outside of those two. Well, look, I think McConnell was probably man of the match anyway. You know, including Endo and Kelleher, because at least he was involved going forward. He created, I think, 2 or 3 good chances. Had one himself. Unlucky.
He had to switch positions twice.
Yeah,
as well,
a couple of times. You know, I think overall he came through it okay. Worst player on the pitch, and it's not close, is Chiesa. It's bad. I mean, at least Diaz will track back. You know, he'll lose the ball, he'll run back. He will help Costa us out. He will make overlaps. He will make runs. He'll lay the ball off when it needs to be laid off. And he beat his man a few times. Chiesa, that was easily the worst performance of a senior player I've seen at the club in a long, long time. Because you couldn't work out, if you were playing with him, you couldn't work out what the fuck he's doing. When he got on the ball, you didn't know what he was. If I make a run, is he going to try to find me? That's fine if he doesn't. But if I make a run into space, is he going to look for someone else? And if you can't even, as a teammate, if you can't work out what the fuck he's doing, then you haven't a hope. You have not got a chance. Saying all of that, I would have no qualms putting any of those senior players into a full strength side with better players, because you're not going to make 9 changes for a Premier League game. You might make 1, you might make 2. For a lot of those players now, their season is done. barring major injuries, you don't expect to see. I don't expect to see Neone. I don't expect to see McConnell. I don't expect to see Chiesa, and I don't expect to see much of Harvey Elliott from between now and the rest of the season. Between now and the end of the season, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Elliott, Chiesa, Jota, Diaz, Nunes, Endo, possibly are all looking for new clubs in the summer.
Yeah, that's
if that report.
Certain people.
No, it's not because I think Harvey Elliott, especially because you're looking at him, he's got. Is he going to break into this Liverpool side like Curtis Jones has done? Is he good enough to force his way in? Don't think so.
I think
is he good enough to force his?
I think he sticks around for the homegrown thing. I think that's the main reason.
If that's the only reason he's sticking, it's because he's been forced to stick around.
That's what I mean.
The rest of them are in a boat where they'll. Jota doesn't stay fit long enough, often enough. Picks up too many injuries. Darwin, you can't trust him. I think Diaz is really good player, but he's got 2 years left in his contract. He's 27 years of age. He's at that age now. If you're going to try to get any money back from him, you have to make a decision this summer. And Chiesa, all the ability in the world, not made for this league.
That's harsh from Kev. Ashley, who are your two nominees for good and the worst?
For shit and less shit. Less shit. I'll try to pick someone different. I thought Kwanzaa was okay. Like, I think as a pairing, he started out with Gomez, then he had to go to Endo. I thought Endo and Kwanzaa were fine. Like, they did what they did enough for me to not look at them and be like, you guys are awful. Whereas our entire forward line, that's all I was thinking. I agree that the standout was Chiesa. I also think Elliott did not cover himself in glory at all. The one caveat I'll give for Diaz is he's being switched around from center, like from the 9 onto the wing and then back to the 9 and onto the wing. And like, he looked confused. He looked totally ineffectual today. So I think, I'm just going to say the entire front line though, just looked atrocious. But, that being said, this is a one-off game. This is not our first team. And I want to make sure that I know there are people in our chat currently. They're like, why aren't you more pissed off? I'm not more pissed off because this is not our first team. And, to start throwing like the baby out with the bathwater right now feels a little bit foolish. Like, there are definitely players that we saw play today that probably won't be at the club. I don't think it's going to be like all of them because we have a hell of a lot of rebuilding that we need to do over this summer without starting to chuck out some of these kind of, second string players. I mean, I get that they might not be good enough, but if you look at our shopping list, it's already pretty fucking long. And we, as under the FSG umbrella, we do not get to go through our entire shopping list and buy all the things we need. So priorities, I think, will need to come into play. So I don't know, like if someone wants us to throw a chair, you're probably on the wrong channel. But we're just trying to kind of talk through this with a little bit of sense. So apologies if it's not super exciting, but if you're looking for exciting, maybe look elsewhere.
That's all right. We also have there are certain ones in the chat that until we don't win another game, we'll never see them again anyway. So we don't have to worry about them.
That's fine. I'm just throwing it out there.
I just like the variety that we have in the chat. In response to Kev, we have back-to-back comments of totally agree with Kev and Kev talking absolute shite again. So
both could be right.
We can all have different opinions. I would say
both could be right. Out the Kev.
Yeah. I would say that, I really made a rod for my own back. Yeah, Kwanzaa maybe was the least shit out of all the players that played, and I was so disappointed in Harvey Elliott today. I just thought he was just truly, truly awful. One final super chat here from John R. for £5. Everton Wednesday, a well-rested first team. Bring it on. And that's the thing to focus on here is that we've got a much, much, much more important match coming up. The postponed Merseyside derby. Somebody in the chat there as well too said, I wonder how much the postponement to that match affected this game, because if we didn't have that game coming up on Wednesday, we almost certainly would have seen at least a stronger bench, if not a stronger starting squad today. But it is what it is. Full congratulations to Fulham. Thank you everybody for coming in here and joining us. We've somehow managed to get 35
Wrong
minutes
team.
out of it. We're good. We're good.
I
We're
think
good.
that meant congratulations to Plymouth, not Fulham.
Yes. Yes, of course. Yes. Yes.
The one
You
caveat
love
to
Fulham.
all of this, right,
You love Fulham,
is,
don't you, Ashley?
listen, the
I
one
don't want
caveat
to
to
hear
all of
Fulham
this,
ever again.
down the line, this will be a benefit. It will.
It's like winning a week off, right?
Look, the truth is, you don't
I'm trying.
win major prize money for the FA Cup. You get gate money, yeah, but you split it with the club that you're playing against. It's messy, but there will be time off during the fifth, during the weekends and a lot of them are mid. I think the next round is midweek round. I think the Gab was saying the other night the fifth round is
I think the fifth round
midweek. Yeah,
I think the fifth round's weekend. I think quarterfinals midweek.
Quarterfinals weekend or midweek, but every which way you look at it, there's going to be times when others are playing that we're not. Arsenal already out, so the fact now that they're currently on a 10-day break. Yeah, but the fact that they're now currently on a 10-day break and they need to get some kind of players back and some players rested, and when the fifth round comes around, like Chris was saying, we have 5 games in 15 days, and it's a tough run as well. It's not going to be easy, but at the same time, it is what it is. You take it on the chin, you move on. It's not the be all and end all. It's not season defining. There are clubs playing now, the classic one, Spurs and Villa. For both of those clubs, well, more so for Spurs than Villa, but their season hinges on an FA Cup run. For Villa, it's not really the be all and end all, but for a few of the other clubs that are still in the FA Cup, it's season defining. It's not season defining for us, and it's not season defining for Arsenal, and it's not season defining for Chelsea. There are bigger things to achieve this season for the clubs who are trying to get into the Champions League. Clubs.
Going on that, there might be an argument to say that it could be season defining to not be in the FA Cup for us. Like, in terms of, we've seen what going for the quad has done for our club. And I get this is an unpopular opinion. I would much rather be in the competition. But, just playing devil's advocate here. We've seen this team go for quads and push for all of these competitions, and we've seen them burn out. And so, again, just searching for a silver lining here. There might be an argument that not being in this competition might give us that extra oomph that we need to get over the line. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me from all this is don't conflate arguments around other teams that are struggling to win anything and the argument that Liverpool can't win everything. Those are two very different arguments. We might not win everything, but we're still pretty well fucking placed to win at least something. So let's just focus on that. We take it on the chin. We move on. It is Superb Owl Sunday. So please, anybody but the Chiefs. The Puppy Bowl starts in an hour and a half. If anybody can find it online, please go and enjoy watching some adorable little puppies play with balls and stuff like that, because that would be more entertaining than what we watched down at the Plymouth Argyle Stadium today, where Liverpool crashed out due to the magic of the cup, 1-0 to Plymouth Argyle. Onwards and upwards from here. Gav will be back with some of the lads for the Sunday night show, and then we get into another week of previews and post-match reactions with the big Merseyside derby coming up on Wednesday. Thank you very much to Kev, to Chris Brack, and to Ashley for joining me. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thanks to the 2 people that threw in super chats for us. That's absolutely lovely. That'll go towards our charity partners as well. Always, Fan Supporting Food Banks, the Lighthouse Cafe. GoFundMe link in the description below. But other than that, we've lost. It's a crisis. See you after the next game. Bye.